This entire business model really just comes down to two things. One is, how do you get as many customers onto recurring revenue as fast as you can? And two, how do you keep them as long as you can so that the lifetime value of that customer is as great as possible? Really, anything else is in support of those two objectives. The more you can keep that in mind in everything that you do in your business model, the better off you're going to be. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Mike from servicesatscale.com. I've been selling to small businesses my entire career, and I built two multi-seven-figure service businesses and was able to exit one of those businesses for a nice exit. And I've been training agencies and other businesses that are selling to the small business community for the last 15 years. In full disclosure, I am also one of GoHighLevel's biggest affiliate partners, and I offer a bonus program to help you build your business based on GoHighLevel and based on the experiences that I've had in my career and the best practices that I've learned to build a nice recurring revenue lifestyle business in this industry. If you invest in GoHighLevel through me or upgrade your account through me, you get access to all my bonuses, and in exchange, I do get a commission from GoHighLevel. One of the most important lessons that I learned early on in my career is to study businesses that are much larger than my own to try and understand how they have already achieved these milestones that are way ahead of where I'm at. We want to study businesses that generate recurring revenue, do it long term, and have been able to grow to $20 million, $50 million, $100 million and beyond. And that's why it's important that we are studying businesses like Hubspot and their growth history, which they have so much information out there about that you can learn from, and other SaaS companies. SaaS companies are selling software as a service. They are getting that recurring revenue for long customer relationships. We have to learn from them about how they're doing that and how they're selling, how they're keeping customers, not just study other agencies. So the insights that I'm going to share with you in this video come from businesses that are well beyond where I'm at, well beyond where you are at, and we need to learn from them to make sure that we are applying the best practices that have worked for them to our businesses now so that we can accelerate our growth and our profitability. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some metrics that you may not be real familiar with, and it may sound a bit like a foreign language. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you have got to learn the key metrics of your business, okay? You manage what you measure. I'm sure you've heard some form or variation of that phrase many times. It's absolutely true. Okay, when I wanted to get in shape, I started measuring things like my body fat. I started measuring how much I was working out, how much my lifts were improving, so that I had something to manage and I was paying attention to it and I was dialing in the things that were impacting those measurements. The same thing goes for your business. Okay, you have got to measure the key metrics. You've got to understand which ones are most important at your business. So I'm going to link to another video that I did where I covered the key metrics of this industry. Make sure that you learn those metrics. If you want to be serious about being an entrepreneur and about building a real business, you've got to know your numbers. So go check out that video if you're not real familiar with the metrics that I share with you in this video. There are some incredible insights that I'm going to share with you that I found from these recent articles that were published by SaaStr, SaaStr.com. They are a fantastic source of really, really good data and insights about the SaaS world. Okay, this guy is a VC. He's invested in a ton of SaaS companies. He's got that inside knowledge to see all of their metrics and to really be able to evaluate their metrics like an investor, a big time investor truly does. And again, we want to learn from people who are playing the game at this level. So this first article is about HubSpot. I've done some videos where I've profiled HubSpot and their keys to growth over the years and the key insights from that. I'm going to link to that video either here or down below in the description. HubSpot is an incredible case study for us to learn from. We have so much to learn from these guys. So let me walk you through here some of the key metrics and what we can learn from their experience around these metrics. So one here, you see in the article this graph where they're talking about net revenue retention. Okay, net revenue retention is an incredibly important metric for SaaS businesses, or really any business that is based on recurring revenue. And what net revenue retention tells us is the total revenue from a set of customers going up or going down over time? And so you can have customers that sign up and churn. Of course, every business has customers that sign up and churn, but if the remaining customers that you have are upgrading their accounts, they're paying for additional services, and so your net revenue is still going up, well, then your business is still in a real good position, right? So yes, you are churning through some customers, which you are always going to do, and we want to do everything that we can to manage that. But if you are keeping enough customers and that revenue from those customers is actually going up enough to make up for the losses from the churn, your business is still real healthy. So this is a really important metric that they track. In the SaaS community, investors are looking for a net revenue retention number of at least 100%. That is the goal. Okay, if you're at 100, you're doing really well as a business, because what's that saying is that when you're acquiring customers, you're keeping 100% of that revenue, even though you're getting some churn in terms of total customer base. So anytime you see over 100, you know you're doing really, really well. Anytime you see something like this, where it was down in the mid 80s, you're in trouble. So HubSpot was in trouble here at their IPO point. You can see at 214, that was their IPO. You can see by the end of the year, they had already shot these numbers way up. I'm sure because of the public scrutiny on these numbers, they were getting a lot of attention paid to it. And then way up here, it's dropped back down and coming back up. So you can see they called it a crisis, 88.6%, HubSpot's retention wake-up call in 2014. So what were the problems that were causing this? Let's look at it. Poor churn rates among price-sensitive small business customers. That's what SMB, small and medium business customers, okay? Anemic expansion revenue with limited upsell opportunities. So in other words, they weren't doing a good job of upselling. Rigid pricing that didn't scale with customer growth. Single product focus limiting expansion paths. Okay, so let's dissect this a little bit. You can see here, HubSpot was selling primarily to small businesses with a rigid 3-tier pricing structure ranging from $3K to $18K annually. The result, 70% net revenue retention in those small businesses. Now, you are most likely selling to small businesses. I'm selling to small businesses. So clearly, the fact that they were dealing with this and then transformed it is something that we need to learn from. All right, next, I want to jump to this great transformation. Usage-based pricing saves the day. If you are familiar with me at all, if you're familiar with my training at all, I tell you that you need to be using a usage-based pricing model. What the heck does that mean? Usage-based pricing model means that they are paying based on the use of the platform. So things like our resale services that we can provide in HighLevel. If you send more email, that's greater usage, you are paying more. If you send more SMS messages, that's greater usage, you are paying more. Same with the AI, any of those services that we can resell. It can also be based on the number of seats. So if you have 5 people using it, if you have 10 people using it, you're paying more at 10 people than you are at 5 people. Why is usage-based pricing so important when you're selling to small businesses? Let's check it out right here. This allowed them to what we call land and expand. So the customers could start small and then they could grow their account as their business grew and as their use of marketing grew. Value aligned pricing, cost scaled with the value the customer received. Again, if you're sending 1 million emails, you're going to be paying more for that than somebody who's only sending 100,000 emails. It makes sense. Reduced friction, lower barriers to initial adoption. This is a critical one. If you can go to a small business with a pricing structure that allows them to get in initially at a lower price point, selling is dramatically easier. Okay, small businesses are very price resistant. So if we can have a more attractive initial price that allows us to get their attention and get the foot in the door and then expand from there, we have a much better sales model. And that's what it is also suggesting here, natural expansion. Revenue grew automatically as the customer business grew. It also, though, can grow from more upsell opportunities. So again, if you've been through any of my training or seen some of my other videos, there's a host of services that I recommend that you sell as foot in the door services. These can be at lower price points. They are a portion of your capabilities. And then in our sales process, we introduce the rest of those capabilities to the customer once they've had some success with that initial service. That's key, right? Once they've had some success with that initial service, we want them to be happy customers first, and then we upsell them. It comes much, much easier when they've already had that initial success. So usage-based pricing is the gold standard for how to sell to small businesses, not just for HubSpot, but for most successful SaaS companies these days. If you look at why it works, reduced churn, automatic expansion, better product market fit, and competitive advantage, easier to win deals against rigid competitors. The best SaaS businesses out there are using usage-based pricing now as their model, and you should be as well. HighLevel enables this at your business with their incredible SaaS, with the incredible features that they have built around their SaaS platform and SaaS billing options that we have. We can bill based on the number of users accessing the system. We can bill based on the usage of all of these various resale services that we have. We can match exactly what these very sophisticated businesses like HubSpot and others are doing with their pricing structures based on what HighLevel has given us. We need to take full advantage of that. All right, if we continue to look at HubSpot's timeline here, you can see that this really worked, okay? The golden years, climbing to 115% net revenue retention from 2015 to 2021. Anytime you're getting numbers like that, your business is experiencing explosive growth and profitability. But then challenges emerge. What are the challenges? They hit their first decline. Economic uncertainty hit the SMB customer base. Obviously, there were some real tough times for the world and the economy during this period of time. So no doubt that their business was going to experience some pressure. And they continued to experience that for a few years. Now, what did they do next? You can see here the seat-based pricing renaissance, HubSpot's next NRR, net revenue retention evolution. What I want to point out here, though, is that seat-based pricing is really just another form of usage-based pricing in my mind. We can charge them based on the usage of, again, like the resellable services, email, SMS, AI, but we can also charge them based on the use according to the number of people using the system. So if you have one person using the system, we're going to charge you less than if you have 3 people, 5 people, 10 people, and so on. And again, you can do both of these models inside of HighLevel, and that is exactly what I recommend in terms of how you package your services. I will show you my packaging approach here in a few minutes, but that you combine the usage-based capabilities of the resell as well as the seats. And you can do that in HighLevel with absolutely no problem. It's nice and easy, and I'll show you how. All right, the next article that I want to share with you is an interview with the Chief Revenue Officer of Toast. If you're not familiar with Toast, they sell a variety of tools and services to restaurants, and they have had incredible growth. Look at this. They scaled the company from 20 million annual recurring revenue, which is obviously already fantastic, but to 1.7 billion in annual recurring revenue in 2025. So that's a period of just around 8 years to go from 20 million to 1.7 billion selling to small restaurants. That's incredible, and obviously something that we can learn from. There's all kinds of things that you can learn from this interview. I would recommend that you go and watch this video and take some time to get your own insights and get your own notes. But there's a couple things here in this article that are pointed out that I wanted to share with you that I think are really important to understand. The first one that I want to share with you is point number 4 in this article. You can see here the headline is that in-person still wins by 3 times. What they're saying there is that if you can show up in person and sell to an account, you are getting 3 times the close rate of somebody who's just doing an online sales process. Now, what they have learned is that they can really afford to do this when selling to restaurants, because restaurants have a unique thing in the marketplace in that there are so many of them in a dense area in many places, right? There are areas of San Diego that just over a handful of blocks, there's like 100 restaurants. San Francisco, New York, any of these big cities, that's the case. Even in smaller towns, there tends to be an area where there's a lot of restaurants close together. So what they've learned as a strategy is that they assign a sales rep to a given area, and it's their job to become kind of the mayor of that area. That's their goal, is that they want to show up, get to know everybody in those restaurants, get to know the managers and the decision makers, and just kind of play the long game, they're going to get their foot in the door some way or another with one of their products and one of their services, and they're going to land and expand, just like we learned from HubSpot. Depending on who you're selling to, just going and selling in person like this may not be a viable strategy for you. So I want to make sure, I'm not saying that all of you should just go and do nothing but in-person sales, because if your customers are, say, plumbers, there's not 100 plumbers within a couple of blocks in San Diego, right? There's a handful of plumbers all over San Diego, and they could be miles and miles and miles apart. So just going and showing up in person at them is not going to be economically effective unless you are already doing some sort of marketing that's helping you get your foot in the door, get attention from them, establish your brand, right? So you want to do the good old online marketing that we all should be doing, creating content, being active on social media, running funnels, things like that, to get you the leads and get the attention and build the brand. But if you can include some in-person presence, and this can be done one-on-one, but this can also be done in a more scalable way. I've done lunch and learns over the years where I get 25 business owners from a city into a lunch. I buy them lunch, I give them a presentation, give them a pitch. Those are incredibly effective because now I'm selling to 25 people at once, but I'm getting that face time. And in this digital world that we live in, getting real face time can be incredibly valuable. As you can see, 3 times the close rate in this case. I encourage you to think about, how can I incorporate in-person selling of some sort to give me an edge over the competition? Okay, I work with thousands of agencies, and one thing that I see consistently is that so many of you want to just be able to put up a website, put up a funnel, run an ad, and think that your business is going to grow by magic. And I'm telling you that unless you are very, very good at that, you are going to get your ass kicked by somebody who is willing to actually have a real in-person presence in their marketplace and with their customers. So it's something that you really want to consider. The next point that I want to share with you from this article is number 5. Channel partnerships are distribution, not just lead gen. Okay, what does this mean? What is a channel partnership? It's referring to is just anybody who already has access to your audience that you can tap into. So this could be, if you're selling to plumbers, a plumbing trade association that has live events for plumbers. They could have a conference in Vegas every year. They have a newsletter that they're probably sending out to all those plumbers that you can advertise in, or you can get some sort of co-marketing arrangement with. Those things are channels. Somebody who's got a YouTube channel that your audience is paying attention to, or a podcast. Those are channels. I oftentimes get asked how I grew my second business, Cooch, so fast, because we went from 0 to 300,000 a month in recurring revenue in just under 18 months. That's crazy growth. The way that we did that was by tapping into channels. We found channel partnerships that we could run our webinars through, we could put some educational content through, and it became an incredible source of business for us. That was how we grew so explosively. You should be looking for opportunities to tap into channels as well. It makes your business grow much quicker and much more affordably. And honestly, just makes life dramatically easier. Somebody has already put in all of the hard work of finding your audience and getting their attention. That's really the game in business these days. So tap into it however you can and leverage those channels for your own growth. You got to get a little bit creative. You got to hunt for the ones that are worth working with, and you've got to develop those relationships sometimes to get them interested in promoting you. In some cases, they just have an advertising option. You can just run an ad through them. That's true of many YouTube channels, podcasts, newsletters, trade associations, things like that. But channels are an incredibly powerful way to accelerate your growth. The last thing that I want to point out from this article is number 2, social proof is your most powerful sales tool. Okay, proof sells. I have a formula I call VIP selling. V stands for add value, as in add value first in your sales process. I stands for interest and interesting, show interest in your marketplace and be interesting in your marketplace. P stands for positioning and proof, okay? Proof sells. Proof sells better than anything. You can do all the fancy marketing that you want, and you will lose to somebody who simply just demonstrates a lot of proof that what they have works. This has worked really, really well for Toast. And the way that they have leveraged this, you can see here again, is by becoming the mayor of the patch. They get to know as many people as they possibly can in their territories. And when you have a successful relationship with a handful of people in your particular market, word starts to spread. You develop a reputation. You earn that credibility of being a reliable resource to these businesses, and word spreads. And so they have been able to tap into that to generate what they call a flywheel effect, right? Where things just pick up momentum and get easier and easier for their business. How do you tap into this? There's a handful of ways that you can do this. One is by focusing on a particular vertical. So don't just sell to every small business. Sell to restaurants, sell to plumbers, sell to home services contractors. In this case, they sell to restaurants, and so they've got one particular niche that they're just constantly building relationships in and adding to those relationships. And that presence, again, over time creates a flywheel effect. They get known in their market. You can do the same thing by focusing on a vertical and getting known in that market. Now, in some cases, it may actually make sense for you to sell to businesses of all types. Say you're in a smaller market and you want to sell just in that market. Well, there's not going to be enough of any one type of business to probably create the kind of business that you want. So you may have to sell to restaurants, plumbers, chiropractors, everybody in your town. You can still leverage that social proof by making sure that you're collecting testimonials, publishing them, publishing case studies, doing video interviews with your customers where they're talking about the great things that you've done for them, creating those lunch and learns where you're bringing businesses of different types together, business owners of different types together so that they can network with other business owners in their community. That's something that I did really actively at my IT services business, and it worked really well for us. Our lunches would be, 25 CEOs from the area, and they were different businesses, so they were non-competitive. And so getting all those CEOs together and letting them network and get to know each other, they then considered me the resource that brought them together. So I had this incredible positioning, and it just demonstrated proof that I was a serious player in the marketplace, and it helped us grow like crazy. So you can do this by creating content, sharing it on social media, putting together in-person events where you get to know people and let them get to know each other and create that network. There's lots of creative ways to do this, but it's really just about sharing. It's about sharing your experience with your customers or your customers' experience with you in as many formats as you can and as widely as you can so that people see that social proof. Proof is always going to be the top way to sell. Okay, so again, I recommend that you go through this article, watch this entire video. There's lots of incredible insights to learn from it, but I wanted to share those key takeaways that I think that you can leverage right away. Okay, so let's talk about how you apply those pricing and service package design strategies from that first article in particular so that you can really take advantage of the opportunity to sell more aggressively and more quickly, which is critical when you're selling to small businesses. This that you're looking at is my High Leverage Agency Service Package Design Worksheet. This is a part of my High Leverage Agency program, which is a bonus included through my High Level Bonus program. If you scroll down here, there's a lot to this document because there's a variety of strategies that I teach here. But as I mentioned before, having good low-priced foot-in-the-door service packages are a critical way to help accelerate your sales. Gives you that real nice, aggressive foot-in-the-door price point, let's say $97 a month, and introduces you to some services that you can set up quickly and that have real impact on the businesses so you can get success quickly. And then you want to be able to upsell them. And that's where these core service packages come in. These core service packages are designed, again, based on usage, okay? So in the SaaS configurator in High Level, you're going to want to set up your service packages with resale for email, SMS, AI, those resale services, with credits in the service packages so that they can use some of those services included in their base price, but then anything beyond that, that usage credit, they're going to get billed for. So again, they use it more, they pay more. And then you also want to set the seat limits inside of the High Level SaaS configurator, the package designer inside of High Level, so that you can control when a business has to go up to the next level of pricing based on the number of people on their team. So what I suggest is something like this. And of course, you can customize this in any way that makes sense for you, but 1 to 3 team members in this base package at $297 a month, 4 to 10 team members at $497 a month, and 11 or more team members at $697 a month. And then again, you're going to include some credits. The way the credits work in high level, it's actually a dollar amount. So let's say at the $297 per month package, you included $50 in credits each month. And then those credits would get applied towards whatever usage of SMS and emails, things like that. So depending on the amount of credits that you choose to include, $50 would translate into a certain amount of SMS and email based on the markup of those services that you've included and configured inside of high level. Again, those details are under your control. So this is just an example of what it would look like to the customer. Let's say they're paying $297 a month, and that includes 1,500 SMS or calls, 15,000 emails, and 1 to 3 team members accessing. Anything above 15,000 emails or 1,500 SMS or calls, you're getting billed at X cents per call, X cents per SMS. And then let's say that they upgraded and they went from 3 team members to 5 team members. Well, then you would automatically bump them up to that $497 package, but they are also getting more usage included in that so that they feel like, okay, I'm paying more for more seats, but I'm also getting the ability to actually use the system more before I'm getting charged extra above that $497. So this works out really well. It feels very fair to the small business. If they're really small, they're paying less, but they're getting access to everything that they need. You'll see here that I recommend that you include all of the capabilities of your system. And you'll see this term R6. That's my methodology for packaging and presenting marketing services and marketing systems to small businesses. But the point being that whatever capabilities you are selling as a part of your marketing system to that small business, include them all in any of your service packages. Okay, so again, we're moving away from features-based pricing. We're not saying if you want funnels, you have to pay more. If you want a website, you have to pay more. All of these things are included in your service packages. This way, we're not nickel and diming that small business based on the things that they want or need. It's all just based on usage. How much SMS, emails, AI, calls, things like that are you running through the system? And how many team members do you have on the system? This is so nice and simple because it feels fair to the small business. They're getting access to everything that they need. They're paying a reasonable price based on the number of teammates that they have using it. They are paying more if they use more, which makes sense. And for you, it's very, very simple to pitch and sell. You're not trying to sell them based on these different features and having to explain what a funnel is and why you'd need a funnel and why you want to pay more for that capability versus not. Small businesses don't understand all this stuff anyway. You just want to deliver to them the best marketing system that you can and have them pay on usage. When you do that, everything is easier, sales are faster, customers are happier, and stick longer, as you saw with the results that HubSpot got. You combine all these factors together, this is how you take a more strategic approach to building a real business. If you would like help with any of this, this is what I teach in my high leverage agency program, which is the core program included in my bonus. If you invest in high level through me or you upgrade your high level account through me, it includes complete access to that program, a career's worth of strategy, pricing, package structure, sales, marketing, everything that I've learned over the course of building my businesses and selling to the small business community, as well as a private community only for my paid customers and weekly calls to support you. Please check out the details at the URL here down below. I've also got links to the articles that were discussed in this video in the description of this video below. Please check those out as well. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I answer all of them personally. If you know anybody that would get value out of this, please share it with them, and please subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you in a future video. Take care.